Our speaker this morning is our senior minister, Reverend Michelle Ingalls, and her topic is the power of thought. Please join me in welcoming Michelle.
Good morning again. The spirit of being, the wisdom, the love, the energy, the strength, the intelligence, the beauty, the all-powerful everything, the creator of everything, or, if you prefer, God. So that's where we started last week when we began our month-long exploration of the basics of science of mind. And as I said last week, if you've been around Centers for Spiritual Living for a while, you know that traditionally January is back to basics months, where we explore the very basic principles of the science of mind philosophy. And so we're calling it this month Getting Grounded, because we know that what we talked about last week, which was the gender neutral, all-encompassing, all-power, all-prevailing, whatever it is you want to call it, that's where we start. And on that, we build the foundation of our spiritual life, our experience with that, our relationship with that. And this morning, as we talk about the power of thought, we're moving on to say, what is our relationship with this? And what is its nature? And if I'm one with it, is the nature of this whatever it is also my nature? And how does that work for me in my life? How do I participate with this power and presence to co-create my own life? How do I use these spiritual principles to get the best out of life that there can be for myself, my friends, for the world? So that's what we're going to explore this morning, is the idea of the way it works. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that each and every one of you, as you got up this morning and got ready and came down here to the temple to join in our service of One Heart, One Mind for Spiritual Living, you weren't thinking to yourself, oh yeah, I got to get some more information. I want a lot of information. You know, this is the information age. If you want to get information, you can read a book, go online, watch a YouTube video, listen to a TED Talk. You can Google anything and read and discover something about it for days on end. I doubt seriously that you came here because you wanted more information. What I believe, and I know that it's true for me, so it's probably true for you, is that what you're looking for is change. What you come here to get is inspiration, motivation, community support, so that you can use these spiritual principles, this information, to co-create the good that you know is available within this all that is, God, Spirit, whatever we want to call it. I'm guessing that change is what you're asking for, even if your life is great. Even if you have a wonderful relationship, your bank account is overflowing, your health is dynamic and wonderful, and you have this wonderful work in the world with your career or your volunteerism, whatever it is, I bet you still want change, because that's the nature of life. Ernest Holmes tells us that God is never stagnant, that it is always moving forward. And have you noticed that when you become too complacent, things just kind of shut down and you don't feel that great? Ernest Holmes was pretty clear about that. Ernest Holmes, our beloved founder, wrote this about change. Nature will not let us stay in one place for too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. This is a wise provision, for should we stay there too long, we would become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. Nature demands change in order that we may advance. All you have to do is look around. Does anything ever stay still? My body doesn't stay still. I don't look 18 anymore, but I'm awesome. Life is always expanding to a greater and greater expression of itself. And it moves through us to the degree that we allow it. So today, we're going to explore what that looks like and how we, as one with this divine power, can consciously participate with it to bring about the lives that we want to live. We're doing it anyway. Why not do it in a conscious way? And Ernest Holmes talked about this as well, over and over again in his writing and in his speaking. And he put it very succinctly in this quote. I'm going to get all the quotes out of the way in the beginning, and then we'll just jump in. The life which we live is the universal life, expressing through us. Else, how could we live? Our thought and emotion is the use we make, consciously or unconsciously, of this original creative thing that is the cause of everything. Last week we talked about the cultural trappings that surround the word God. So whatever works for you, that's what you use. But this thing has a nature, a creative, expansive nature, and as part and parcel of this one life, so do we. And our lives are wanting to express and to expand to the degree that we allow this thing itself, this whatever it is, to move through us. Okay, I want to read one more thing from Ernest. Like I said, all the quotes out in the beginning. And it is from chapter 8 in the Science of Mind textbook, which is called The Power of Thought, which is the talk title today. And here's what he wrote in the beginning of this chapter. It has taken humanity thousands of years to learn that it has the power to control its own destiny. I'm still learning. I don't know about you. From the Bible, we have the assurance. As a man, let's say mankind, thinketh in his heart, so is he or she. The old Greek philosophers understood something of the meaning of thought. What we expect, said Aristotle, that we find. What we wish, said Demosthenes, that we believe. And Shakespeare is accredited with the saying, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I truly believe that. It is one thing to know a principle, but another to apply it. And that's where we take off from there. It is one thing to know the nature of the divine and our place in it. And it is another thing to actively participate and use it in our lives. So thought, emotion, that is the thing. That is the thing that filters, that the spirit of creation filters through and demonstrates into our lives. The law itself. So that's what I'd like to invite all of us to talk about and think about today, is to get to the business of using this principle in a practical way in our everyday lives. That's the invitation. Now, I know many of you are doing that already. I'm doing it, but I know that every time I use it, I learn something new. It's the great life experiment of looking at what am I thinking and what am I creating. And here's what I know for sure, that a neurologist tells us that every day we think about 60,000 thoughts. Some of them are just kind of random and they just kind of move through us and we don't really pay them any mind. And they aren't necessarily a pattern of thinking and feeling that will catch fire and create in our lives. But there are those that do. And there are those repetitive patterns that cause a certain feeling to rise up in us that create our experience. And those patterns, if we watch our thinking carefully as we move through our day, that's where where we do our work. That's where we're called to observe and to look. What is the predominant color of my thoughts and feelings as I move through my day? Because that is the level that my life will rise to. You know, I've said before that as young children, we are like little sponges, and we are programmed with what our parents and our teachers and our grandparents and well-meaning people in our culture teach us and show us. And I look at my own family. My own family was a very loving family. I never once in my life felt unloved in my family, and I was one of 7 children. My parents were both very loving people. And I have risen to that level of being in my life. I live a very loving life, and I'm so grateful for that. My kids know they're loved. But my parents also believed in lack and limitation, and there was never enough, and they always had to struggle. They had these 7 kids. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I also went to that level. And it becomes the predominant thinking of our thinking and feeling level that we achieve without us even really knowing that. But as metaphysicians, we are called to be aware of where we fall. So that is my invitation to you today, to think about what is the level of your thinking and feeling, and what are you impressing into natural law, which is the nature of the divine, which is living right where you are. It's right where you are. It's not out there somewhere. It's right in the midst of us. Okay, so here, visual aids. Okay, so I have this glass of water, which is filled to half. Now I'm sure you're thinking, oh, she's going to talk about whether or not the glass is half full or half empty. Right? Which is a really valid lesson, because we know that our thoughts and our emotions are created through what we perceive in the world. So half empty, half full is going to dictate to me how I feel. If it's half empty, I'm going to resonate with empty. If it's half full, I'm going to resonate with expansion and possibility. But that isn't what I'm going for here. What I really want to know is, how much does this glass weigh? How much does it weigh with the water half full? What do you think? 8 ounces, 10 ounces, at the very most? In all honesty, it didn't make any difference. What matters is how long I hold it here. If I only hold it here for a minute, no big deal, right? If I hold it here for an hour, my arm is going to start aching. It is going to become a problem. I am going to want to put it down. If I hold it here for an entire day, my arm is going to become numb. It's going to feel paralyzed. And the heavier, the longer I hold it, the heavier and heavier it's going to get, and the more burdensome it is going to feel. You get that? Do you know that we do that with our stresses and our worries? I mean, those fleeting thoughts that I was talking about earlier, if they just pass through, no big deal, right? We can acknowledge that they're there, realize that it isn't the truth of our being, and let it go. But if I start thinking about something for an hour, and I start resonating with, oh my gosh, this could happen, that could happen, oh my goodness, what about the circumstances and the events and the situations in my life? They're pressing in on me. I'm going to start feeling worry. And if I stay there for an entire day, I'm going to start feeling paralyzed in my life. I'm going to start feeling like I'm not empowered to change, like I can't do anything about it. I'm going to feel victimized. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Think about carrying those things for years. How do those make you feel? So here is the lesson of the glass. We can put it down. We do not have to hold on to the stresses and the worries and the things in the outside world that we think define us, because they don't. And there's the lesson of the weight of the glass. We don't have to hold it. So in watching, being aware, noticing, being the observer of your life, you can notice where the patterns of thinking and feeling keep coming up. What is it that I need to set down? Do you ever go into that negative thought, you know, when you reinforce your deficiencies, if you will? Oh, I'm such a procrastinator. Oh, I can't remember anything. Oh, anybody? Yeah. That great statement of creation. You know, last week I told you the story about I had gone up to my daughters, and I had been bragging about the fact that I hadn't been sick in a couple of years. And I work in a kindergarten classroom 2 days a week, and those little nose minors are always sniffling and doing something. You know, it's like a life petri dish in there, and I hadn't gotten sick. I was so proud. And then I went to visit my daughter and my 2 little grandsons with the nose, and I kept saying, I'm not going to get sick, I'm not going to. It's a metaphysical trap. Spirit does not listen to, Spirit is not contractive. It doesn't listen to what I don't want. That's contractive. All it hears is sick. I'm not going to get sick. Oh, sick. I'm resonating and thinking and feeling at the level of sick. What I needed to say is I am healthy. I am vital. I am energetic. I am whole. And then it will resonate at that expansive level. You know, one of the last public addresses that our beloved founder, Ernest Holm, ever gave was at Asilomar up by Monterey, where we used to meet as a community every year. And it has since been come to be known as the Sermon by the Sea. And the line in the Sermon by the Sea that sticks with me all the time is that he invites us, he suggests that an enlightened person, like Jesus or Buddha or whomever or us, is for something and against nothing. Why? Because that's the nature of life. That's the nature of creation. Spirit doesn't hear I don't want. Spirit hears the expansion of our thoughts and feelings and just takes it and runs with it. That is the way that the law works, the creative law. It always goes for what we want. Where we are will demonstrate. It has no choice. It's an impersonal law. Law doesn't look at it and say, you know, I don't think she really wants that. It doesn't judge. It doesn't take special orders. It just says yes to everything. So as metaphysicians, our job is to watch what we're ordering up. And we order up through the predominant pattern of our thoughts and our feelings and what we hold to be true in our life. If we think that glass of water is too heavy, then everything will be heavy. If we think that we are vital and whole and complete and perfect, then that is what we will be, because we are always ordering up. Oh, I told this story a couple of years ago, but I'm going to tell it again, because sometimes the second telling is better. I don't know why. So there's a story that I heard from a minister in Huntington Beach years ago, and she was telling the story of her sister. And her sister would always brag. She had the belief, she knew that she would never get a traffic ticket. She never did. She would never get a traffic ticket. And so then she met this guy, and they started seeing each other, and they were going to visit his family somewhere like in Wyoming or something like that, and they were coming from LA. And they took his truck because it was bigger, and they could take turns sleeping and driving and sleeping and driving. So it was her turn to drive, and she's driving through the plains. You know how it is when you start getting up there, it's just miles of nothing really. Yeah. And so she's driving, he's asleep in the back, and she's getting excited about being there, not paying attention to how fast she's going. And then all of a sudden she looks down and she's like going 80 plus, and she realizes, oh no, and then she sees them, the lights in the back. So she's like, oh darn, okay, I never get a ticket. She reiterates to herself, I never get a ticket. So she pulls over, and the officer comes to the window, and she starts to explain, oh officer, I am so sorry. I was getting so excited because we're almost to our destination, and I'm so excited to see these people and meet them that I didn't even realize how fast I was going. And so he says, okay, you know, I understand, no problem. He says, I'm not going to give you a ticket today, but I want you to watch your speed. And then he points to the boyfriend in the back, but I am going to give him a ticket because he doesn't have his seatbelt on. Oh, and I forgot, it story, so sorry. The boyfriend always said, I always get tickets. I always get parking tickets, I always get speeding tickets, I always get tickets. So he was reiterating, he was at the level, the pattern of thinking and the feeling that he always gets tickets, and that became his experience. So what is your level of thinking? What is your level of feeling? What do you continually revisit in your life that you would love to change? Because change is what it's all about. Change is the nature of life. I love that Ernest Holmes used to call God simply life, because that's what it is, simply life. The nature of life is expansive, it's big. It is so much better to be for something and against nothing. If you want love in your life, then be love. Don't think about the fact that you don't have it. If you want financial prosperity in your life, don't live in lack. Live in the felt experience of what it's like to have everything, to be everything that you want to experience, because the truth is, it is already true in God, which means it's already true in you. It lives in you in potential. And quantum physics tells us that if we observe what we want, the potential and the possibility, that it will collapse into a particle into our experience. And that's how it works. You know, as I was preparing today's talk, I started thinking about how many Januaries I have walked through, either as a listener or as a speaker. And I started listening to the January Back to Basics talks 25 plus years ago. And I've been designing and presenting the talks for 13 years. And I was thinking about the transition of how I have moved through these basic principles and my current understanding of them, because nothing ever stands still. My understanding, the meaning that they bring to me has deepened and expanded as I have revisited them over and over again. In the very beginning, for me, when I walked into the doors of what was then religious science, it was all about manifesting what I wanted in my life. And there is nothing wrong with that. We do it all the time. We have a right to live the lives that we want to live. We have a right to do that. But what I have come to understand, and what has evolved for me as a metaphysician, is that metaphysics is not necessarily about manifestation. It is about realization. It is about the alignment with the truth of my being. And that in that realization, manifestation takes place naturally. It isn't about getting stuff, although that's pretty great too. It is about knowing who we are. It is about resonating at the level and the alignment with the divine nature that is already in us. That's it. That's the deep learning here for all of us. That the deeper realization of who and what we are and what we have come here to be cannot be separated from what we manifest in our lives, collectively and individually. If we want to live in a world of love, we cannot focus on discord. We focus on harmony. If we want to live in a world where everyone is feeling loved and included, then we don't focus on separation. We focus on our oneness. We focus on loving kindness and compassion. It changes us and it changes the world. And that is the power of our thoughts and feelings. And that is the way it works. So let's pray. How about we do that? Let's take in a nice deep centering breath. Oh. I know that all there is God, Spirit, the all that is, whatever you want to call it. Makes no difference to this presence and power. It is what it is, and it is love. It is beauty. It is the spirit of being. It is all around you. It is strength. It is loud. It is quiet. It is all-encompassing. There is nothing outside the activity of the divine, including us. We are in it. We are it. We are alive with its expansive presence and its life. And it is knowing itself more fully through us and our experience of it. So I speak my word for and about each and every person that is present here in this room, and each and every person that is not. I speak my word for and about our beloved country, the United States of America. I speak my word for and about every person and every country and every life on this beloved planet and in the universe. That we are opened in consciousness to a fuller flow of the divine grace that is always available to us. Ernest Holmes called it the divine givingness of spirit, and we are standing in its flow. In every area of our life, we are becoming an expanded divine life, beingness, collectively and individually, and there is no stopping us because life is infinite and eternal and expansive and always moving forward, and its beauty and its wisdom and its love and it's us and it's here and it's now. And I'm so grateful. Thank you, God, for this truth. Thank you, God, for this flowing. Thank you, God, for each and every person who is emanating love in this room. I feel it. I know it. It's true. I release this prayer to the capable hands of law that rolls in ecstasy at our feet. Thank you, God. We signify our agreement by saying together, and so it is.